Yes, Chaya. Chaya A.
Okay, so I really focused on Minuchin's for my report, but I think where he starts off is that all families, it comes down to that it's transgenerational, that a lot of things are passed down through generations.
Yes.
And then where I think he starts it is that there's anxiety in every family. And somehow that anxiety will come out and play itself out in the family, the systems or the subsystems or the system as a whole. And then I think he starts with differentiation, and there's all different levels of differentiation that everyone has to separate and differentiate according to, in order to be healthy, they have to be at one end. If they're not healthy, they're at the other end. And I think that's where he starts. And then he goes on to further boundaries. Is that Minuchin, further boundaries?
That's Minuchin.
That's Minuchin. Okay.
So really what's important for you to know that Bowen talks about the structure and behavior of family functioning, and that he definitely reflects on the history of families and their origins and influences, but he sees the family as an emotionally connected unit. And his main focus is on the interactions between each family member, not what they say, but how they interact with each other. And if there's a balance in those relationships, then the families are doing well. The anxiety that Chaya spoke about is because a family is emotionally connected. And if each individual is not well differentiated from the family, where they have their own individual values and goals and belief system, and they're symbiotic with the family and so totally fused with the family's goals and the family's views and the family's beliefs, it causes problems in the family, chronic anxiety. So that's what happens to individuals. So it's important for every individual in a family to be connected to the family, but to have separate thoughts and feelings from the family as well. And if you can balance that, then you will have lower and lower levels of anxiety. Yes, Miriam.
So why would it cause a problem if everybody thinks and feels the same way? I'm just curious, how would it be a problem if it's like a good way of thinking, if it's positive, and if they all feel the same way?
It wouldn't be a problem as long as the person sat there and thought about it. It's part of the development of identity. Someone needs to mute. You would need to sit and say, okay, this is how my family functions. These are their views. What are mine? Do I agree with that? Do I think a little differently? If someone chooses, there's this theorist called, I don't know what, his last name is Marcia or Marcia. I'm not sure how he pronounces it when it comes to names. And it's very interesting how he talks about identity and how you have to develop identity. He talks about the fusion and moratorium and when you choose and how you choose. But at the end of the day, the best way is to make a choice. So it's okay if you choose to be like your family, but it has to be a choice. That's really what he's saying. That's self-differentiation. You have self-differentiated from your family. You've put your own spin on it. Okay, does everyone understand? Miriam.
Hi. So my sister married, my sister's mother-in-law is one of 9 girls and 2 boys. Mm-hmm. And she mentioned that all the girls in her family, they run their households very, very similar. All the girls. So she was saying that the base is very similar, but they all have like small little things that they make it their own.
Correct.
But they're all very similar because of the way they were raised. The girls only, not the boys.
That's why Bowen calls it multi-generational therapy.
Right.
There's patterns in families, and they continue and continue and continue. The patterns, Miriam, do not have to be bad patterns. If the patterns make sense and work, sure, you would continue. Plus, Bowen used genograms, very much so, to help families see where they come from. What are the patterns? Which patterns are repeating itself?
Another thing, sorry, I have a lot of these conversations with my mother and my father also, how I would love to raise my kids the same way I was raised, but I was raised in a different time, in a different place, and I really have to learn how to adapt to the place where I am and to the time that my kids are growing up in. And I'm having a very hard time with that.
Yeah.
Because I really want the way
There's new family trends today, and you're absolutely right. And you don't really have a choice. You do have to, especially today with technology and internet, you're really raising your children very differently. Yes, Malka. Oh.
That's called adaptability, right?
Correct.
It's interesting what Miriam says. I have 9 sisters myself. And it's an interesting thing that when we go to each other, we're all different, but when we go to each other's house, there are certain things that we know exactly where to find, certain things. And that comes from where we come from.
That's so funny. Makes sense. So genograms was a very popular intervention for someone like Bowen. He also had something he called eco maps, which basically is what you did at your last reflection. Do you remember the reflection you handed in that I graded? You did an eco map. I had an issue with that. I need to tell you. I felt like a lot of you did not really put enough time and effort into your eco map. I think that you made a choice to reflect on the articles or people you knew, and you spent most of the reflection on that, and then you did 5 sentences or a short paragraph on yourself. It's really, really important to look at your self-differentiation. If not, you're not going to be able to help people well. There was a certain amount, I detected a certain amount of resistance on your part to really look at yourselves and develop a really good eco map. Yes, Malka. Oh.
We would know if you commented on that to us individually.
I commented to you individually. I probably would have had to say that to everyone, and I didn't, so I decided that I would just talk about it here. I gave you full grade for the attempt, but I'm going to tell you that I would like for you to really spend time looking at yourself and to spend time knowing who you are. You get such an incredible opportunity to do that by going to school. Do it, use it. Yes, Hannah.
Yeah, which case study or actually which reflection was it that you wanted to see more of this eco map?
Module 2. Module 2? Yeah, module 2.
Can you give some examples of kind of like what you mean?
I think that there were very specific questions that were in the reflection that should have been answered, that I think that people glossed over and didn't really answer fully. But I think it was across the board, Miriam. I think it's like going to therapy. There's that initial resistance. All of you exhibited the same sort of resistance to really looking at yourself and addressing yourself and answering the questions and really taking a good hard look at yourself, your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And I would like to make sure that you try harder next time. Not, saying more than that. I would like to talk about Minuchin for a few minutes. Does somebody want to describe Salvatore Minuchin's structural family theory? Does anyone realize that Salvatore Minuchin is Jewish? I thought you'd all get it. You knew that, Malka? I'm sorry.
I did not know, because I was noticing where he was coming from, but somehow I felt that he was, and I was looking to try to figure out, and I couldn't. So it's funny that you're saying that, because I thought he was, and I had a very strong sense, but I didn't see where it was, and I didn't really look up more information on him. But I was wondering
Actually, when you listen to some of his talks, he talks about it. He was born in Argentina, And he
Right.
talks about having been an Argentinian Jew, and having been a Jew and an other in the Argentinian society really informed a lot of who he was and how he thought of society around him. It's very interesting. He talks about having grown up, as he calls it, in a shtetl, and because it was such a small community of Jews. It's very interesting. He also spent time in Israel. He died last year. He was very famous as the founder of structural family theory. It's not as popular today in the United States as it is in Europe and Israel, because Salvador Minuchin was his theory. He was a very dramatic man. And once again, Este's not here, so if you look on YouTube, it's incredible to watch. I remember when I was trained in family systems theory many years ago, Salvador Minuchin was the biggie. His actual name is, Salvador is his, obviously in Argentine, but his name is Yissaschar, and his name is Minuchin, which in Hebrew is Menuchin. Minuchin, it's how we sound it. So most people did not realize, they thought he was Hispanic, but he actually was an Argentinian Jew and very Jewish, and always introduces himself that way. So I just thought it would be interesting for you to know and relate to in that fashion. Very, very dramatic man. Watch any of his, so dramatic. So what were most of, can anyone we have 2 minutes, let's go. Someone tell me structural family therapy. I would like us not to turn off our phones during class for 2 hours. I'm asking you to do that. Not to walk away if it's not needed. To not do that, because it's been like 2 or 3 people who did that, and I appreciate if you didn't do that. I think it's not respectful to any of us here. Chaya, you want to give us Salvador Minuchin here?
Okay, so I can try. Okay, so he is the one who has very strong the boundaries.
Yes,
where there's a structure in the family, and the goal of the therapist is to create the structure in the family. And by doing the structure, she has to create boundaries, and she looks at the alliances, and she looks at
coalitions, the power hierarchies within subsystems. Exactly.
Can I just interrupt before you? Our other class, we have a 5-minute break in between, and it gives everyone a few minutes to run to the washroom, take a drink, and then come back. Now it's too late for today. So it doesn't have to be for today.
Cool. I will do that. In the future, 10:30, we're going to get a 5-minute break. Thank you. I think it's a great idea because I've been waiting myself to go to the bathroom. Yes, Malka O.
You say 2 minutes. Aren't we going till 11:30?
No, we don't go to 11:30.
Oh, okay.
Do we? 9:30, 10. Oh, why did? Oh, wow. I
hope no one's gonna be mad at me.
11 o'clock thing, and I'm watching every minute. I'm quickly.
Hey.
Where am I coming from? You know, I teach different classes, and every class has a different time they're over. And this, my head. I apologize, everyone.
No problem.
We have time. Okay, so let's talk more about Minuchin. Chaya, you want to give us someone want to tell us more clearly what Minuchin was going after here? Anyone? And maybe, okay, so how about if someone could tell me the similarities and differences between Bowen and Minuchin? Oh, come on. Chaya. Why? He's the only one that read family therapies. What's going on here?
Well, I think part of it is that when some family presented, there was a symptom in the family, and that symptom had to be explored and looked at to see what was going on within this family. So the symptom really represented the functions of the family or the roles or what was going on. So he tried to create a proper structure, and by creating that structure and changing the roles of the family, that symptom should disappear because everything else is changing. the symptomatic child or the symptom of the family or whatever was happening in the family. That's what I took from it.
Yes, I agree. I think that you only got like a taste of family therapy and these two family therapists. And like I said, structural family therapy, Minuchin, is not used as much. It's been adapted, it's been tweaked a little bit to make it more usable. Like I said, if you watch any of the videos of Salvador Minuchin, you will see he's very, very dramatic. Right now, it's presented more in a calmer manner, not so dramatic. People use it. It's you have to be so skillful as a therapist to use both Bowen and Minuchin. So there's easier, there's simpler family therapies, theories out there. So when you do learn about it, you will learn about many others. Did everyone read Family Treatment Assessment for Novices, this article? Some of you? Anybody?
I'm still in the middle of it. Honest.
Honest. I'm so glad we're honest. Did everyone read Gabarino this week? Most people did? Good. Oh, wow. That's a change. Did everyone read the articles on foster care? People read them? Because that's important because it talks about risk and challenges that happen. What I would say is if you don't read them, you should take copies of them so that you have them, you could read them at a later date. Because I think, like, let's say this one, Family Treatment Assessment for Novices, it's a seminal work. It really is. And it's important work. And even though it was written so long ago, copyrighted in 1991, written many years ago, it still really talks about how do you know which family therapy to use? And that's really the key. Yes, Simi.
Can we go back, please, and just discuss the similarities and differences between the two theories?
Sure. Can someone else give me the similarities and differences? The most important similarity is that both of them believe very strongly that families need to have structure. There has to be, the base is a family structure. There has to be an internal family organization in order for the family to function, and that there needs to be balance. They achieve balance. I think what they do is they just achieve balance differently. I think Bowen achieves balance by looking at the multi-generational patterns in families, and he looks at the differentiation of individuals in the family, and that's how he works. He gets each member in the family to be differentiated, and he feels that then strengthens the structure of the family. Yes, Malka. I'm going to continue in a minute, Simi. I'm just going to respond.
So I thought when I was looking at both of them and the case study, so I felt like we were able to use a combination of both, of using Minuchin's family structural therapy. And when that is established, we can go to the next level of differentiation where Bowen says.
Yes. So you're absolutely right. I think Malka's bringing up an important point, Simi, that since I said this earlier, if you caught it, that self-differentiation is a lifelong process. So a lot of the things that Minuchin was working on, like subsystems and boundaries and rules and balance in families and hierarchies, is things that interventions that can be done. And Minuchin did it a little bit differently. He did something called family sculpting and enactments. What he did, he would tell the family, what happened last night? And they would say, this and this happened. He'd say, show me. And the family would enact whatever problem they may have had among each other that night. And then what he would do, something he called family sculpting. He would actually sculpt the family. What he would do is he would say, no, I don't want you to sit here. I want you to sit here. I don't want you to say this. I want you to say this. And this way, he changed the whole dynamic. So he changed the hierarchy. He changed the boundary. He changed the subsystem. He changed the structure. And those were the techniques and interventions. Bowen didn't really talk about interventions and techniques. You don't really find specific interventions and techniques. With Salvatore Minuchin, you actually have very, very specific techniques as how he did it. Other than with Bowen, other than the genogram or the echo map, which I don't even know if the echo map really was Bowen, but maybe it's a similar type thing. It's more from an ecological perspective. It's more, there's a treatment called, I think they call it ecological family therapy or something like that, eco-family therapy. So does that help, Simi? Did I explain it well enough for you? Good. Perry?
So if he didn't have if Bowen didn't have specific way, and how, what was?
He believe in techniques, Bowen. Very anti-technique.
So then how did he?
Concepts, not techniques. We had 6 concepts, but differentiation is the main one.
So how did he people to differentiate if he didn't have a specific technique?
How not every therapeutic framework has specific techniques.
Uh-huh.
It's just a framework and a theory of where you want to be at the end of it all. But if you think about it, how can you help an individual in a family? How can you help them self-differentiate?
Maybe by getting them to think for themselves and having more ideas and goals of their own.
As they sit together. Now, Bowen didn't even always, Bowen used to bring in lots and lots of people into the session. The grandmother, the great-grandmother, the aunt, the uncle, everybody in their kitchen sink came in. So you learned everyone's viewpoints and you learned how to connect to everyone in the family, but also how to be an individual. So that was his technique, in essence. Not really, but you wouldn't call the word technique, but that's what he did. While Minuchin didn't do that. One second, Malka. Minuchin, just whoever was having a problem in the family. So there were similarities and there were differences. Yes, Malka.
I'm just curious, how was he able to bring everybody into therapy? You know, that's a very big thing sometimes, right? That one person has an issue and if the people around them would be more willing to work, then...
But remember, Malka, he put his theoretical framework together in the 1950s where people weren't so mobile and people lived within families in the same communities. Today, that would be really difficult.
Right.
You probably have to be Skyping.
Yeah, but besides the technical part, I'm saying the willingness of everybody. That's what I'm saying, because
what he could get.
Because we do find very often when somebody goes for help, right?
Yes.
That they came to the place of, I need help, let me go reach out for help. But there are people that would make a difference in their lives and they resist the thing of going to help for help.
Right.
So that's why I'm wondering how he was able to do that.
I guess he helped families see that if you're in trouble, then maybe you ought to think about, if you're coming to me, it was very clear that his theory was called multi-generational therapy. So you understand what that means. So you're going to have to come in as an extended family if you want my help, basically. It was strict. You know, obviously, if you couldn't do that, and if your family was not cooperative, first of all, that means already there's a lack of commitment. And remember, commitment is one of the characteristics of a strong family. So already shows that it's not a strong family. Because if a family is committed to each other and knows that there's some trouble in the family, what would they do?
Yes, but differentiation can come in here, right? Here is where differentiation can come in. The individual feels that therapy is important. The family has commitment to the overall, but they don't believe in this specific path.
That's true. That's true. If you look at the article on family treatment assessment in novices, if you look Wiltner, he differentiated between different kinds of families, and he gave them levels of families, right? If anyone who ever read it, I feel like I'm talking to people who didn't read it. And he gave each one a different level. So maybe that's part of the issue. And he talked about how difficult it was for a social worker to work with certain levels, like the level 1 family, very neglectful, very underorganized. They couldn't even meet basic needs. Then he talked about the level 2 family, which was unorganized and out of control, difficult setting limits, but basic needs existed. In a level 3 family, where they were problem focused and resistant to change, but there was an adequate family structure and basic needs were provided. And then there was the level 4, where basic needs are met, structural boundaries are relatively clear. So obviously that probably would not be the family that's coming, the level 4 family for the most part. And if a level 1 family came, you're right, they probably would have difficulty getting the rest of the family extended.
Yes, but even level 3 may have that issue, right?
Yes, even level 3 may have that issue. It's very hard to know.
Yes.
Simi?
One thing, that article about family therapy for novices, a side point, I found it helpful to print it and highlight and write things on it because it was a lot of information.
I did as well.
Yeah, okay.
And I highlighted as well.
But I do have one question about Minuchin's. When you mentioned family sculpting, I'm just thinking about that. To me, it sounds a little bit like forceful in the sense that if a person, let's say there's a problem in a family, there has to be a change. And they say like a person has to want the change themselves, right? In order to effectively change. Here it sounds
Sometimes
like
you have to nudge.
here, say this. Sorry?
Sometimes a change has to be nudged along or nurtured along, you know.
Okay.
But you're right. You're right. Salvador Minuchin was very dramatic, and that's how he nudged people along. When he did family sculpting, he would say to somebody, it was like making families into actors. He would say, "I want you to act out how he acts in the family." That's pretty dramatic, right?
Right.
And then he would say, do you hear how he sounded? Do you see how he looked? That's what you look like. And now maybe, let's see, how can you do it differently? So he had a lot of techniques, a lot of stuff. Yeah, you should really, like I said, and I know I don't mean to be repetitive, but I really mean it's so helpful to look online and to watch some of these enactments that someone like Salvador Minuchin did or Bowen. Whenever they talk about different therapists, go on YouTube if you're able to and watch a session. It's mind-opening. It really helps you to understand where you're going in this whole. And you know, yes, Hannah.
Okay, a few things. Number one, would it be possible for you to post one of these YouTube clips that you have found specifically, fascinating or interesting?
I would, with Bowen, I don't know if I have anything from Bowen, but Canopy, you can go on Canopy. Bowen, there's like this 2-hour video that really talks about Bowen's theories and how Bowen, how you can use it and implement his family therapy in a session, and it shows a session. Why are you saying sorry, Chaya? Oh,
Something happened. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'll type it.
I didn't say anything. Okay.
What's Canopy? What's Canopy?
Canopy is like one of these video systems. They have all kinds of videos online. Probably you have to get it through YouTube, but Canopy, psychotherapy.net. There's a lot of different systems that have all these sessions. A lot of it is online, a lot of it is not. Salvador Minuchin definitely has some online. And if it's not Salvador, himself, it's someone discussing his framework. But I think it's really nice to also watch them doing some of these.
I would love to see one of these live videos. I think that would be fascinating.
Do you not have access to YouTube?
I do. Just when you go on, you need to sift through a ton. So
no, you don't need to. You don't need to.
Okay. Meaning there's not that many, you're saying?
No, there are, but you would look at what you're interested in seeing. Like I said, it's nice to watch how they, this was many years ago, all these videos. Salvador Minuchin's videos have been used for years. Like I said, I trained with Salvador Minuchin.
Oh, wow.
In family. When I did training in family therapy, Salvador Minuchin's videos were one of them. One of the videos that I was asked to watch. Yeah. I don't know. I do believe in a lot of what Salvador Minuchin did. I think it's very, very difficult and very dramatic. So you have to make choices. Should we talk a little bit about Randy James? And the scenario, and yes, Chaya, sorry.
Going into Randy James, so I'm already going to ask you a question, if I may. I had a hard time with between that his father broke off the connection. Would that be considered that he had an alliance with his new girlfriend, or boundary? It was like an impenetrable boundary?
I think number one, I would see it as something we learned about last week, rejection. That's the first thing I would say. His father rejected him. And remember when I said that's probably one of the worst things that could happen to a child is to be rejected. And that seems to cause such dysfunction in the child, lifelong dysfunction. Rejection seems to be the number one thing, seems to be like the worst. So that's the first thing I would assess him as having been rejected. But children also view a death of a parent as an abandonment as well, and a rejection. So he was abandoned and rejected on both sides.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Marka.
As far as his father, Bowen's theory comes in, intergenerational, because his father was abandoned as a child himself. So he must have not realized the impact.
The pattern. What you're saying is, there's a pattern in this family. Get a genogram on the paternal side, we would see probably lots of abandonment.
Yes.
We probably would not see that on the mother's side because why? How do we know?
Because you see the grandmother, he's living by the grandmother, and his sisters are living by the aunt.
Exactly. So they don't seem to have the pattern of abandonment in that family. It's so significant, these patterns. They're very meaningful. They really are. I don't know if you've ever seen copies of genograms. They're incredible. I actually have a book that my computer is sitting on that I could show you a picture. I just have to pull the book out. Change books here. If I can find one quickly. But it's very interesting to see what a genogram looks like.
Can we Google?
Yeah, you can Google genograms.
Okay.
All different types, yes. Absolutely. You can Google anything today. You are so lucky. I say this all the time. When I went to school, I had to go to the library. I sat in the library for hours upon hours upon hours. And in my day, I would take copies of some of the articles or things that I'd be working with. And, the copy machine in the libraries, I don't know what they cost today, but in my day, they were dimes. And I'd have to go to the bank and get rolls and rolls of dimes and then make copies. So you guys, you do not know. Your life is so easy. Yes. And here with WordSwell, I'll even provide you with the articles. Unbelievable. Yes. Somebody asked me, and I don't know if it's this class or from the other class. Actually, I think it's from the other class. It was Miriam. Miriam, what's your last name?
Me?
Yeah.
Amzalak.
Oh, so it was you. Okay, you asked me about articles and things like that. So the midterm is coming up next week. I would like you to learn how to find your own scholarly and peer-reviewed articles. I don't want you to use what was provided on that list because it's a very important thing to learn while you're in school. Yes, Perry.
I just had a question. Would it be possible to give us a little introduction to life course approach?
For the next week?
Right, just because we're going to be using it seems.
I think that I'd like you to read it, and I think I'd like you to, I promise you that we will review it next week really, really well. And we're going to be, and actually we're going to work on that probably until the end of the course, because we're going to go through birth, childhood, infancy, childhood, middle childhood, adolescence, early middle adulthood, late middle adulthood, and late adulthood, or elderly, or however you want to call it. I like late adulthood. I love that. I think it's great. Makes me feel better. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm not sure I understood what Perry was asking for.
Perry wanted me to go on to the next module.
Okay.
Yes, Mary.
So we're going to be interviewing someone else this time. So is it not as much
So you don't want to talk about Randy anymore?
No, I do, but I just have a question about that.
Yes, Miriam. Yes, you will be interviewing someone.
So it's not reflection about us this time. It's somebody else, correct?
Correct. That was the point of interviewing yourself and now interviewing someone else. And I bet that your write-up of someone else is going to be so much more comprehensive than the write-up of yourself. And I want you guys to all look at the difference and see your own resistance. This is a learning thing. This is learning. And it's okay that that happened. I just want you to see it. I can bet you 10 to 1. Yes. It's incredible. Yes, Hannah.
Yeah, I think maybe what some of the students are trying to ask is, you know, the learning is great, and all the readings and the books, they give us like a ton of different conceptual frameworks to think about and analyze, and then we come to class and we discuss it. Would it be a possibility to have the case study after the class, I mean, after we've discussed it and gone through it, and then be able to write on it?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble understanding the question.
We get a lot of readings and videos and pre-work where we teach ourselves some of the concepts, and then we get to class and we learn it on a greater depth and more analytical level, and we get to discuss it.
Remember you're in graduate school.
Yeah, and that's all fine. I love that. I have no problem with that. My question is, I think would it be beneficial if we could then have the case study following that class after we have that interaction, and then we write up on it?
I'm really following what Wurzweiler wants me to follow. So,
okay.
I don't want to not take responsibility for it, but Wurzweiler has a framework. But I really think that part of my problem here is the fact that we didn't start with module 1 in the first week when I met you guys, because everyone was very anxious, very overwhelmed. No one was on campus yet.
Mm-hmm.
I sat there and I said to myself, I'm going to sit here and teach. I was totally prepared to teach module 1. I'm going to sit here and teach module 1, and everyone will be looking at me like, what's going on here? You hadn't read it. You had no introduction to anything. I feel like it's so much better when I review it, when you have something in your head first about it. But
right.
You're talking about the case study in particular.
Yeah, no, of course. So then what I'm asking is, how come we don't follow up with the writing after the class, after we've had that interaction?
I am following up right now.
No. With actually, okay. I guess
Professor Lustig?
Yes.
And for a second, no, I had this with Concordia.
Are you interpreting for her?
What? I don't know. Maybe. This is just my personal experience. Just with my bachelor's, last semester, what we would do is we would have, readings. Okay, it wasn't graduate school. We didn't have case study assignments every single week, but when we did, we had like the last 20 minutes of class, so we wrote it then, like after discussing all the concepts in class together.
I hear it's not homework.
No, it was homework. It was graded like a regular assignment. It wasn't just homework. It was just more that we read
2 hours. I don't see how we have time to do that.
Even if we do it right after class, it's just more that we read about it and then we discussed it in class and then we were able to.
I don't stop you from doing it right after class. I mean, I'm not sure.
That it's basically about the timeline. That's all. Like the due date. Meaning, I think it would be beneficial if we were able to do all the pre-work, come to class, have the discussions on it, and then write it out.
And then, oh, I'm hearing you.
Yeah,
But we're got it.
Exactly. If we would have been that much.
Good suggestion. I'll try to see how I can do that for the next.
It would just be making the case study due Sunday night instead of
Saturday night.
Yeah, whenever it's really due. Yeah, Sunday night. Let's say whoever wants to work on it, or even like most.
Okay, so wait. I don't care what it says online. You want to give it in Sunday night instead of Saturday night, guys? Is that what you're asking? I mean, I wish you would have just asked that because I'm really so confused, Hannah. That's what you want?
I tell you.
Sunday night, it's a deal, no problem.
It's very simple. I think everyone wants to be able to
wish that's what you would have said. We would like to give it in Sunday night after we have the class. Not a problem. You're okay.
Understand it better.
Give it in Saturday night. It's not a problem. I'll accept it from Saturday night to Sunday night. How's that?
Question. So if we do it earlier, you'll understand that we didn't have the information yet from Sunday, correct?
Oh, now we're negotiating. That's the problem when you make a change. See what happens with families and individuals? You make a change, ripple effect to everything else. So now I have to check the time because the ones that did it Saturday night didn't have the information, but they really did because you have all the books and articles. So the one Sunday that maybe have more information, so I should grade them.
Yes.
More difficult matter.
Yeah. No way.
No.
Just leave.
I can't.
No way.
I am allowing you to hand it in Sunday night. We're going to begin and end with that. No more negotiations. I'm going with the program, guys. Oh, Mark is so confused. Like me, I was confused.
You basically have until Sunday night to send in your paper.
There are some students that feel that they need this class before they do the case study. So instead of handing it in Saturday night, they would like to hand it in Sunday night after class. And I'm agreeing. Now, of course, then one other student tried to negotiate. Well, then if we hand it in Saturday night, you have to grade us more leniently because it's not based on what we learned on Sunday. So I'm saying, I'm not negotiating. I'm agreeing you can hand it in Saturday night to Sunday night, and that's it. I can't start negotiating like lenient grading, not lenient grading, way overboard. I'm being fair. I'm letting you hand it in Sunday night if that's what you choose to do. Okay? Any other questions? We have one more minute about the Randy case study. Yes, Darcy.
No, never mind.
Tova. Tova?
Hi, I was just looking for module 4. There's a bunch of books, a lot of books that
I said that. It's really, you have the midterm and you have chock full of books. You have two chapters in Roger's book, Human Behavior in the Social Environment. You have one chapter in the Garbarino book and a couple of articles.
But one book is not, I'm saying a few of them, I think it's Psychological Birth. The YU Library doesn't have 2000, it has 1985, I think. They didn't have this book. Are you saying we shouldn't read it or we should read it?
If it's on the e-reserve, then read it. If not, you have so much.
I'm almost sure I was able to get all the books.
So
I'll send them to you. I'm saying I found everything unless I downloaded.
Why you had the ebook? It said on it that specific book, not 2000. I think it said 1985. So I'm wondering if it makes a difference.
Malka always picking up the Rogers.
Basically the same.
No, that book we have. There's another book.
There's another book. I'll send them to you. I'm almost right.
You're right, Chaya. There's a chapter in another book.
There's one chapter, pages 3
The
to 17.
Psychological Birth of the Human Infant.
I got it. I'll send them to you. I'll send them.
2000, the version of
Yeah.
2000?
I don't know if it's 2000, but even though it's usually
Doesn't make a
there's new
difference, that's my
editions that
question.
come out, but it doesn't
No,
matter.
it doesn't make a difference. Yeah, why don't you send it to everybody, Chaya? Thank you. That's very helpful.
Okay, thank you, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Have a great week. And do the case study Saturday night. That's great. And the rest of you, Sunday night. Okay? Have a great week.
Great, just 1 second. I just wanted to make sure everybody, like tech-wise, everybody has what they need. They're connecting well. There's no issues with Zoom.
No.
If there's problems, email me or call me. Perry's got
Perry's the only one that had a problem. She was on the phone this
Okay.
morning.
You haven't, still Perry?
Yes.
Yeah, questions again.
Okay, so then we're gonna speak separately.
Yes.
Can we have
Okay,
a-
thank
what about the writing workshop? What about the writing workshop?
What?
The writing workshop. We were emailed that we might be able to have a writing workshop. Did that go into?
So if I can get the writing workshop to work for everybody with their times and work with the writing center, you will get it. If not, I'm gonna have them try to put together for you it's like a PowerPoint presentation that goes with the writing center. It'll be more like of an online study yourself sort of a situation, but
may be
I'm
very
still working on it.
Esty, could some of them, because there are a few students, I would say it's in the minority, but there are a few students in some in this class and some in the other who really are struggling with the writing, with the structure of the writing, with the grammar, commas. Some people have no idea how to use a comma. Can they contact the writing center on a more individual basis?
100%, and they should be. All of
That's
the
what I've
writing
been telling
center,
them.
yeah.
Okay.
All of the writing center information was given out, I think in the first week of class, maybe.
Great.
If anybody needs it, please feel free to email me again, and I'm happy to give it to you again. They are at your disposal. They make phone appointments, they make Zoom appointments, they'll read your paper, give you feedback, and then you can meet with them,
Excellent.
sort of thing.
Excellent.
Okay. I
Yes.
think Kaya wanted to ask something.
No, I have a suggestion to make. There's something called Grammarly, and I think it's available for free for students, and it's
Yes.
really great for even just basic grammar.
Where is that?
Is Grammarly
It's a program.
for students for free, Esty? Grammarly Premium?
That I don't know. I
Find
don't know
out,
if-
please.
I don't know if it's available.
A lot of colleges and universities provide it for free. It's an app, everyone.
I know what it is, right?
It's
Kids
really
have it for
great.
school.
Yeah, the regular Grammarly is not that helpful. It's the
Right.
Grammarly Premium that's actually helpful.
Right.
Okay, I'll find out for us, and if it's available, I will send it out.
I think it's
Thank
a
you.
great idea. Thank you, Chaya.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hi, this is Esther.
Oh my gosh, they come out and Okay. You scared me, that's all.
Professor, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, I just want to apologize. I came a few minutes late. I had the wrong Zoom link for your other 9:30 class, so I was on it, and then I'm seeing the faces, and they didn't look right, and so I just had to X back out, so I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem, honey.
All right.
Take
Thank
care.
you very much. Also, that question even that I asked, I mean, I don't mind. I like these case studies. It was just like I kept hearing their feedback, and I know that's what they wanted to express. So, yeah.
They wanted to express what exactly?
Meaning they wanted to express that they wanted the case study due only after it was discussed in class so that they'd have more information.
Yeah, I was not clear, though, on what, I don't know.
That's what kept coming up, and
It
so.
was a little convoluted. I couldn't figure it out until finally I figured it out. It took me some time to understand. I don't know why it wasn't just the question. Could we hand in the case study Sunday night as opposed to Saturday night after the class?
Yeah.
No problem.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Take care. Bye. Hi, Esty.
Hi, how are you? You want to stop the recording?
I don't know why. You told me to record. I could stop.
Yeah, I asked you to record because